Hi everyone, I'm Lashi, and today let's talk about something that we all use every day, but we rarely think about it. That is our electronic devices. From old phones to broken chargers to outdated laptops, where do they all go once we are done with it? So most of it ends up as e-waste, one of the fastest growing types of waste in the world. But what if I told you that e waste isn't just a trash? It's toxic, it's harmful, and if we don't act now, it could silently damage our health and our planet. So let's dive into what e waste really is. It's dangerous, it's toxic, and let's get to know about it through a small video. Before we get into the video, let's get to know about the recent emerging trends of e waste. In 2022, 59.4 million metric tons of e-waste were generated globally. That is equivalent to 1,000 laptops every second. Less than 20% is formally recycled. India ranks third in e-waste generation after China and the US. Only 10% of India's e-waste is formally collected. The rest, handled by informal sectors under poor working conditions. So, let's get into learning about e-waste through the video. If you are like most people who use electronics for at least a few hours each day, all of the electronics which we use each day are eventually going to be replaced. Maybe because they are broken or simply because we want to get a new. When we throw away all of our old electronics, a huge waste is generated, which is known as e-waste. Electronic waste is the fastest growing source of waste. Each year, only about 17% or 170 Titanics worth of e-waste gets recycled, while the other 83% Titanics of smartphones, refrigerators, dishwashers, laptops, office coffee makers, TV, and so on ends up in landfills, incinerators, and elsewhere. There are two main concerns with all of the e-waste. The first is that e-waste has a negative impact on human health, and the other one is on resource availability. There are such big issues in electronic which contain more than 1,000 different substances, many of which are toxic. Among the many different substances, which are dozens of metals such as copper used for wire, aluminium for tubing and refrigerators, iron for motors, lithium and batteries, and many others such as zinc, nickel and cobalt. Even gold can be found in circuit boards, and silver can be found in switches. For example, in microwaves, when our electronics become e-waste, they are often sent to incinerators where they are well incinerated as e-waste, and of the metal and other substances are incinerated, highly hazardous pollutants are released into the atmosphere where they could have a negative impact on the health of the people living in the area, and most of the e-waste is sent to the landfills. However, e-waste also poses an issue in landfills because the toxic materials can break down and eventually make their way into the ground nearby, the water, soil. Even recycling them may not be the best option at all. So, how does this impact you? If you don't live near an e-waste disposal site, there is evidence that suggests that e-waste pollutants may make their way into the agricultural land and other products that are then exported around the world. So even though you may not live near an e-waste disposal site, you could be consuming products that come from areas near e-waste. In addition, all of this wasted material was extracted, transported, processed, and manufactured and shipped all over the world, which means greenhouse gases were generated, which contributes to climate change. The other major concern with the mounting e-waste issue is just how much of our metal resources are being wasted and buried in landfills and burned up in incinerators each year. It's estimated that the value of the metals within e-waste that we throw away each year is about $62.5 billion. In fact, each year we throw away about 1.8 million tons of copper alone. This is enough copper for nearly 23 million electric cars each year. For reference, Tesla sold about 1 million electric cars in 2021, and worldwide there were about 6.5 million electric cars sold. So there is more than enough copper in our e-waste to meet our copper needs in creating electric vehicles for many years. In a world where there is growing concern that we won't have enough metals to meet our needs, e-waste could be a promising source, and while the human, environmental and economic impact of these lost metals is high, very little is actually recovered and recycled each year.
According to certain studies, the vast majority of e-waste is generated from households instead of business. So we everyday people and not businesses or other commercial locations are generating this waste, and according to other studies, at least half of the e-waste generated in homes of most countries is the result of throwing away small and large appliances. Small appliances are electronics such as vacuum cleaners, microwaves, toasters, cameras, while large appliances are things like dryers, dishwashers, and electric stoves. Now, of course, the large appliances weigh significantly more than the small appliances. For example, a dishwasher weighs more than a toaster. In fact, it weighs about 20 times more. Interestingly, large appliances don't make up 20 times more waste than small appliances. Even though they tend to weigh 20 times more, the remaining e-waste falls into four main categories. Cooling and freezing equipment such as refrigerators and air conditioners and monitors, for example, televisions, monitors, laptops and lamps, and last small and telecommunication equipment, for example, mobile phones. However, right now over 70% of the world's population already has some e-waste policy in place, which likely means that policy on e-waste not effectively enough on its own. Luckily, since most e-waste is produced in homes, this gives us the power to take action against e-waste ourselves. According to the waste hierarchy, the first step in reducing any type of waste is reduction. We can reduce the amount of e-waste produced by purchasing less products. We can also purchase better products that last longer, so we don't need to replace our old electronics as often as possible. I'll keep the description updated with products recommendations. The next level of hierarchy is reuse. This means using something that has already been used. For example, borrowing from a friend or family, or purchasing something online or from a thrift store. You can also donate, gift, or sell your used electronics to someone else. Again, leave good sources for this. Since many products are not meant to be repaired anymore, however, right to repair policies are starting to pop up around the world, meaning product manufacturers need a better job at making their products repairable. Last, whatever cannot be reduced, reused, or repaired should be recycled. Recycling should be the last strategy used in the handling of e-waste. However, it's often the only strategy used.
Now that you know the dangers of e-waste, it's time to make a change. Start by recycling your old electronics responsibly, donating reusable items, or opting for eco-friendly brands. Remember, every small action counts. When we manage e-waste properly, we not only protect our environment but also create a cleaner, safer world for future generations. So don't let your old gadgets gather dust. Give them a second life and make a positive impact on the planet. Thank you for watching, and now let's make e-waste a thing of the past. Thank you.
Start.